Greetings from Las Vegas. Welcome to the EOG Sports Hour. John Kelly with you on a Monday night. Glad to be representing EOG. The three letters stand for Ion Gaming. EOG.com, a website dedicated to the hearts and minds of sports bettors everywhere. If it's Monday night, that means our friend Mike Corrigan is the featured guest, veteran bettor and bookmaker, who joins us every Monday night from his home in Temecula, California. Though every now and then he's here in Las Vegas. He's got a home here in Las Vegas as well, and he visits us in studio at those times. Mike, good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening to you, Jack K. Pleasure to be here on this really nice Monday night, weather-wise anyway.
Mm-hmm. How's it like living in Temecula, California?
Hey, this is a great place. When I moved down here in 1986, it's a very rural area, and there was like 5,000 people here, and now there's around 125,000. But I live in an area where it has a 5-acre minimum, so I got no neighbors. And it's not that I'm not friendly, but I just soon, have quiet. And so I have a ranch and a lot of animals on it, and it's nice and quiet, and the satellite dish to cover all major events, and it's just nice and quiet. It's different than the city. Now, you come to Vegas, it's just the opposite. Now, I just come there for short periods. I used to be living there full-time, but that's definitely the city that Vegas is, and totally opposite. I don't race hell like I used to, so if I've quieted down that way due to, health conditions, it's a good thing I did, otherwise we wouldn't even be having this conversation. So, anyway, it's nice in Temecula. It's just about 45 minutes from San Diego and probably 30 minutes from Del Mar, so it's everything's close by.
Give me the rundown on the animals, and then we'll get to the games. How many animals do you have?
Well, we have, my wife's an animal rescue, so we have like around 20 dogs here, and most of them are, we are indoors, although we have kennels like all over the place, and I have it fenced off because we do have coyote and rattlesnake problems. So, she's an animal rescue for dogs, and we even have a lot of cats and a couple of quarter horses and had some goats and stuff at one time or another, but we've cut back as we got older. And I never was a big animal lover, and I'm not, fanatical about it. She is. I mean, she's like me having a veterinarian in the house, Mm-hmm. And it's different because I got like three dogs sitting next to me right now who would wonder who I'm talking to, I think. And whatever. I like it here, though.
Yeah. You've paid frequent trips to the racetrack through the years. I know you and your father were into horse ownership at one point in time. You mentioned quarter horses. Did any of those race at Los Alamitos?
No. These horses were already done by the time I got to them. And they're here just because for my daughter and grandchildren who ride the horses, so they're pretty. Even though they're high-strung animals, quarter horses are normally they're you can ride them. I mean, they can be ridden as regular sort of horses, and they were both way up in years. I lost one of them, but they were both in that 15-20 range. So they've seen their day, but none of them are a threat to the Los Alamitos Quarter Horse Championship.
Where I've lost a little bit of money through the years. I like the phrase with the quarter horse racing, they're off and you lose. It happens in a hurry, doesn't it, Mike? Those 15-second or 20-second drag races they have in Orange County.
It is, like, especially 350 yards. I mean, it's just really quick. Or 300 yards, I think they even have them that short, don't they?
And I think I've seen some even shorter. I've seen, I want to say 220, and maybe they've even had some special 100-yard dashes before.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a photo finish camera getting worn out. And then it's the angle you're sitting at, because if you're standing there, you think you're out of it, then you're in it, and then you think you got it made, and you don't. And everything is 3-4 horses on the wire every race, so it's definitely a big margin of victory would be if a horse won by 3/4 of a length. It'd be a big margin of victory, and I'd rather go. I particularly thoroughbreds would be a much better choice for me to go. I like to see them go around the track and be on the turf course and things like that. And I don't like trotters either. They're too slow or something. There's something about them I just don't like. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's the single file for me that I have a disdain for the single file racing. I know that's the way to go. They draft off one another, but I think it leads to some collusion at times. The horse that gets the right trip oftentimes wins the race, and who knows which horse is getting the right trip that night. And not saying that, although there have been scandals in harness racing.
Oh, absolutely. The trotters are big time. They don't have big purse money, and you can't bet any money at the track because the pari-mutuels will be eaten alive. You bet $100, the horse gets 1 to 9. It's like going to a dog track. So you have to bet it with a bookmaker that that's not involved in pari-mutuels. Such as a lot of the offshore places. Now in Vegas. I believe every race book is hooked up directly to pari-mutuels, aren't they, John?
Correct. No more hand booking, right?
At all. So they want you to win, and so forth, and whatever. Now the bookmakers in the offshore, that's a different story. They still book them the old-fashioned way, and they also rate the tracks ABC as far as the quality of the track as to how much they'll take on a track. Santa Anita, example, and Aqueduct, Del Mar. These are, major tracks that they'll take big play on. Then they got the medium ones, and they got the C-size tracks. I want to say. I can't think of one that comes to my head right now, like Suffolk Downs, maybe. Isn't that a small track?
Recently closed, though. But
that's how small it
is. I get your point. You've got to be careful with some of the signals. Hastings Park, maybe, where you wouldn't trust the results. They're not as trustworthy anyway as the big tracks are. And harness racing with the scandals that have hit that sport. I think Mike, thoroughbred racing should take a note of what's happened to that sport, because when the public loses faith in your product and they no longer trust it, oftentimes they don't bet it anymore. And you've got to have integrity. And
John, let me you know more about horses than I do, I believe, and I think I can hold my own a little bit in the conversation. But they used to have crowds on Saturday and Sundays. There was one time they didn't even run on Sundays. Saturday was the biggest day of the week. Mm-hmm. But they would do 50,000, 60,000 people at Santa Anita and Hollywood Park. I don't know about back east so much. But now that's all gone. I mean, it is so different. And what is your? I got some viewpoints as to why it's deteriorated. Do you have any that just jumps right out at you? Why the horse racing industry is just deteriorated?
Disconnect with their customer base. That's why most businesses go bad. They disconnect with their customer base. They don't know who their customer is. They don't treat them properly. The customer service is horrible at the racetrack. And I think what happened, Mike, what you're talking about, where the fans stay away from the racetracks now, the live product, is that horse racing made a decision in the simulcast era. When simulcast racing came about, they decided to bring the product to the people instead of having the people come to the product. So, and now with technology, forget about it. It's never coming back in terms of big crowds at the racetrack. But what's happened is they made it very easy for the public to play with the simulcast facilities all over the land, and it's not that hard to get down a bet anymore. They've made it more convenient, but what they did was, in the process, they took away the live product. Now a lot of it's studio racing, where you see 2,000-3,000 fans. Even at the major tracks on a weekday, 3,000-4,000.
I mean, the Hollywood Park closed up. I mean, that illustrates the point, I think. Mm-hmm. And this track had every big name, every big horse, every big-time jockey, Bill Shoemaker, Johnny Longden, Bill Hardtack, or Magnolia Casa. Mm-hmm. They had every big horse, like Swaps and Native Diver and Round Table, and they had all of it. And they had big numbers and a great high-end clientele. I mean, at least in the clubhouse and the private areas, from Los Angeles area anyway. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's just deteriorated. Now, it is easy to get down with TVG on television. You can just open an account there if you don't mind putting up cash.
You can watch a race on your phone. You can watch a race on your phone these days.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's right. And, of course, if the race books in Vegas are comfortable and, the racing forums, half the time you can probably not even have to pay for one, or you don't have to go for the expenses you do at the track. That's another complaint of mine is even the $2 bettor is stuck about $20 before he even makes a bet.
Yeah, there's a lot of gouging. A lot of gouging that goes on even before you make that wager, and then that's another factor, the takeout. What happened with horse racing, Mike? I think in the 60s and 70s, they kind of cornered the market on gambling. If you wanted to bet, you almost had to go to the track. Now there's, with the spread of legalized casino gaming across the country, now the competition for not only the gambling dollar, but more precisely the entertainment dollar is so stiff that, horse racing, and I think the learning curve is tough as well. But horse racing has not done a good job telling its story or explaining the game to a generation that, is fast and wants quick action, doesn't want to put time or invest time into the product. They want everything easy and fast. So, for the it's a bad mix right now with horse racing and the young generation.
Yeah, it certainly is, and unfortunately, you are going to probably be right about it. I don't see a turnaround coming to the positive either. I mean, the Breeders' Cup is coming up, October 31st, is it first?
Right, October 31st.
It's Friday on a Saturday.
Yes, 2 days.
So that's a big deal. It is, and as is the major races of the Triple Crown. But other than that, you just don't see it anymore. And I don't know how it is attendance-wise. Del Mar's very good. Del Mar stays really good. They have a different kind of a scenario down there than they do elsewhere. It's kind of a party environment, a lot of young people. And it's a nice area. It's the Pacific Ocean's right there and so forth. And I don't know how the attendance is in New York and Florida. You follow this. How is it? Do they draw back east at all?
No, big days only, and the attendance fairly flat. And the racetrack's focus now is the handle. They should be focused on-track handle because they get a larger piece of the action. But I think they've already seen that ship has sailed, and now they're more focused on just the total handle and getting the signal out and trying to be, the big kid on the block when it comes to an attractive signal. So I think what will happen, Mike, and here's another problem for the sport, is that, the big tracks, some of those big tracks, they don't have casino money coming to them. So New York finally has it. California doesn't. But what happened was a lot of the other states did get casino money funded for their horse racing enterprises. So they got a jump on some of the other tracks. So it's really hard to know. I think still it's New York, Kentucky, although Kentucky's product is slid. Really, it's the East and the West, New York and California, where the sport is still thriving in terms of big days and handles $20 or $30 million.
How come the short fields in California?
I think part of its location, being on an island, it's not easy to ship.
Right.
So you have what you have, and that's about it. So I would say that's the primary reason. Of course, the racetrack surfaces that didn't help the game as horses were getting injured over different surfaces as they sought to find the right surface in Southern California. That was a nightmare in itself. But
sure, well, even Del Mar had a horrible meet this last meet with dead horses that were breaking down and dying.
And the quality has really suffered too in California too. When you look at the stakes program, compare Saratoga to Del Mar, even in the last 4 or 5 years, Saratoga's taken off, whereas Del Mar's really struggled. I think part of that is, Saratoga's location, drawing from so many other horses, plus having that casino money, having the infusion of the big money,
sure,
to fund your purse.
It's got to help them. It's got to help. Mm-hmm. Speaking of the casino, I don't know what they've done to Hollywood Park since you were last there. If they've decimated it or what.
I haven't been back. I
or
was
if it's just sitting there. I'm not sure.
I was there closing day. In fact, a couple of EOG contributors, Gyno and Winky Duck, spent a day out at the track. December 22nd it was, 2013.
Right, the last day, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I lost the first 5 races of the day, so I beat a hasty retreat and didn't make it for the finale, which Vic Stauffer did an excellent job in calling the last ever race at Hollywood Park, by the way. But, yeah, it was sad to see it go. But another slap in the face to the horse players. Understaffed at the admissions booth. I might have waited 20 or 30 minutes to get in the track. Then they ran out of food. Just an embarrassment.
It's terrible. It's the last day. You'd think they want to go out in a little style.
Yeah. Instead, they had everyone complaining, bitching and moaning in the grandstand and clubhouse.
Sure.
So it was a tough way to go. Now, I'm not sure the status of Hollywood Park. I'll have to check it out.
Well, there's a casino there.
There is.
Well, there was.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's still operating or not.
I believe so. I'd be
shocked. Do you think they're going to just leave that there and kind of work around it?
I think so. It's probably silly to give it away, right? I mean, I'm sure it's...
I suppose. I'm not sure what kind of business it does, and I'm sure it helps a little bit. But
and just
I know they're supposed to level the place, and aren't they turning it into shopping centers and condos and malls and whatever?
Which means the casino might be able to stay,
They may just leave it there. That's right.
Mm-hmm. And, a license these days is so important, too. I mean, once you get the license, you probably don't want to give it up either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Once you get it, because it's not that easy to qualify for it. And anyway, I've been in there, the Hollywood Park Casino. It's just a run-of-the-mill kind of place, but I'm sure it helped things. And they do need that, like you say, that transfusion of it. And it's kind of sad now. I look forward to these races that are coming up, even though it's a tourist deal, really. But they're huge money, the purses, and the Breeders' Cup races I'm speaking of. I mean, it is absolutely huge money. It's kind of a rich man's game, though. I mean, look at the ownership. Every owner's like a trillionaire. And they really are. They got very high-end trainers and so forth. And
the Sport of Kings.
Yeah, Sport of Kings, rich man's game, even though the $2 bettor was kind of like I always thought it was the one that made the track sort of what it is and whatever. But anyway, it's just kind of sad. I haven't been around in an ownership. My dad passed away way back in 1975. He's been gone a long time, but you'll remember Fernando Toro, right?
Sure.
Great turf rider.
Mm-hmm.
Great turf rider. Toro on the turf. Is that the old expression?
That's the phrase, right? Toro on the turf.
Yeah, and he was riding for us, and Bill Shoemaker rode for us, and we had nothing but claiming horses. There was nothing exciting there. But we did win something. Our claim to fame in my family is we won the last 2-mile race they ever ran at Hollywood Park way back.
Oh, that's good.
And then in the late 50s, probably in the 50s. Yeah, it was 2 miles.
And now they've done away with the Breeders' Cup Marathon. That's no more. When they used to lead off the Breeders' Cup activities with the 1 3/4 race, I believe it was. That's no more. They've done away with that Breeders' Cup Marathon.
Yeah, that's about it. So, anyways, on to other events. The baseball got rained out today, and I guess they had some bad weather in the Midwest today and so forth, because they called that game earlier, didn't they?
3.5 hours before first pitch, they knew they couldn't play in Kansas City. It rained 12 straight hours in Kansas City, and the field was just a bog, and they'll try it again tomorrow. They say it should be cold and windy but dry, so no more rain at Kauffman Stadium, so that'll be good if they can get
that'll be the night game, and the Giants will play at 1 o'clock?
That's right. TBS will televise the Giants and Cardinals 1:05 p.m. Pacific Time first pitch NLCS Game 3. That series tied at 1. Kansas City with a surprising 2-0 lead over Baltimore. It's not so much the Royals are up 2-0, but where they won the games. They won both games.
Well, they won them there, and they won them on the road. They won them late and on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And they blew fairly substantial leads in both and rallied back and re-rallied back. They're pretty damn gamey, and I've never seen a team run as much as they do.
6-0 in the postseason now, 4-0 on the road in the postseason. Imagine this, Mike. They were down 7-3 to John Lester in that wild card game, and now they're in the driver's seat in the ALCS.
Right. Yeah, they were. It looked like a mortal lock that they would win that, lose that game, and it's they're amazing. Although I can see where Baltimore is coming. Like they had three major players lose by injury or suspension.
Mm-hmm.
The first baseman, the third baseman, and the catcher. These are three major players, and for that, I mean, it's kind of surfacing right now too. It's taking its toll on the Orioles also, and I don't think. Although I think that this left-hander Chen, that's going to pitch tomorrow.
Yes.
He could be a problem for Kansas City. They got trouble with left-handers.
Money showed today in the marketplace for the Orioles. I saw Kansas City opened a $1.10 favorite. Baltimore closed the $1.10 choice. Our friend Heim was in early on Baltimore, had a decent price on Baltimore, and was sad to see the game rained out. Now they've reopened the price. Baltimore minus $1.10 as new information came in. The odds makers and market could see, and the bookmakers could see where the money was going on Chen against Guthrie, and it is a critical game for Baltimore.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah, this is a 2-3-2 format, right?
2-3-2 is right. So games 3, 4, and 5 will be.
They may not
Kauffman
get
Stadium.
back to Baltimore.
It's a possibility. One thing Baltimore has to do, and this makes it tough. When you hear 2-0, you don't think too much about it. But then you realize O's task is now to win 4 of 5. It's not easy to win 4 or 5 games against a quality.
The first 3 are at the other guy's place.
So,
I mean,
yep.
This is really, really tough. Now, it's been done, but I'm not sure it can be done here because Kansas City is gritty and gamey, and the Orioles, I really think, have kind of run out of gas. They've done. I mean, Buck Showalter's got to be manager of the year anyway. Although the way things are turning out for Kansas City, I could be wrong on that, I suppose. I thought he was a lock for it at one point, but now I don't know. Do they vote for that before the playoffs?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
All right. Well, then he's got to be manager of the year
without a doubt. And I think Kansas City though is the story of the year, right? I mean, we were searching for that. What's the story of the 2014 MLB season? Right. I think what Kansas City has done early in the postseason here kind of seals that. Although Derek Jeter retiring, I think in the grand scheme of things, if you go, fast forward 25 years and look back to 2014, maybe the first line recap of the season will be that in Derek Jeter's final season. But shortly thereafter, it's got to be what Kansas City has done, overachieving as they have, and then running roughshod over teams a lot of people thought were superior to them, the A's, the Angels, and the O's.
You're talking to one. I would say right now that, in fact, my overall opinion of the quality of these 4 teams that are involved is still, I feel like Detroit and the Angels are better than both teams playing. I feel that Washington and the Dodgers are both better than the National League teams. They seem very... I don't know. There seems to be a lack of quality here in any of the 4 teams. Now the games are, they're exciting and so forth. And that's what really matters. I don't know how the TV ratings will be. They probably won't be too good for Kansas City, Baltimore. But the Giants are a big name, and so are the Cardinals. And but yet it just doesn't jump out at me because it seems like the best teams are not in the Final 4 here.
Right.
At least I said it seems like it.
Indeed. I mean, if you price these series and you did it all over again, you'd still make those teams that are out favored over the teams that are still in. We saw 4 upsets.
I mean, I can't believe Detroit with the pitching rotation they had, not excluding their bullpen, which was full of gas cans, granted, but their pitching rotation is just fabulous. I mean, how the hell do they lose? And if the Angels hadn't lost Garrett Richards, I'm sure that could have been some bearing on it too. But you got to hand it to Kansas City. They're good. They won a bunch of road games in a row. Well, I don't know how many it is now. They just never seem to. They just dig in and win.
And same with
they went into Anaheim and beat the Angels in both the home games there.
Same with the Giants. They're on quite a roll. I mean, if you look back, they won the...
Yeah, they almost pulled it off again last night.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a bizarre game, too. And this kid Rosenthal makes me very nervous for saying, if you got St. Louis, and this, he's got good stuff, but he can get very wild, and it occurred again last night. Fortunately, they got bailed out. They should have won the game. Then the game got tied. Never should even have got tied, but they did bail out anyway. But the loss of their catcher, if he's unable to go, and right now I'm looking at the injury thing, it says very doubtful for Tuesday. Isn't an oblique can be a little rough, and especially as a catcher, would be even worse, John?
Oh, and the torque. Yeah, your oblique. I mean, critical to baseball players with or golfers with the ability to torque at the plate, and boy, I would think behind the plate too. He's such a big factor, both offensively and defensively. More.
Everything. He is the MVP of the Cardinals by far. Team leader, a strong hitter, great defensive catcher. That ball wouldn't that went to the backstop a couple of times last night wouldn't have gone back there if he'd been catching. And I'm not putting down Mr. Cruz, the fill-in guy, but Molina is the best. So without him unavailable, we'll be talking at the end of the show as to who's going to win that series.
Let's step aside and take a quick timeout right here. A beautiful tease from Mike Corrigan. When we return, we'll talk football. We'll recap tonight's game between the 49ers and Rams. Look ahead to Week 7. The storyline for Week 6 from a betting perspective, I think I've got it. I'll tell you when we return what it was. Week 6 in the NFL, certainly from a point spread perspective, one that had you on the edge of your seats. And I've got Bobby the Owl waiting in the wings. He's got a best bet for college football this Saturday. I had lunch with Bobby today on his side of town, and he went on record with a best bet, a game that he loves. It involves the game between Georgia Tech and North Carolina. I'll relay that side to you when we return here on the EOG Sports Hour.
There's no such thing as a sure thing, unless you're talking about Ion Gaming. Ion Gaming is a website dedicated to the hearts and minds of sports bettors everywhere. If you're looking for smart, sophisticated sports handicapping information and insight,
go to EOG.com.
If you're looking for the latest news on the ever-changing landscape of Nevada's race and sportsbook industry,
go to EOG.com.
If you're looking for the most recent developments involving the worldwide sports betting scene with an emphasis on the leading sportsbooks in San Jose, Costa Rica,
go to EOG.com.
And finally, if you're looking to join an online community of sports gamblers where registration is free and the information is priceless,
go to EOG.com.
You get the idea. Why gamble on other sports betting websites when Ion Gaming is a sure thing?
And I love a sure thing.
Hi, this is Rick Alec, president of Sports Options. Sports Options is a sports information tool designed to give sports bettors of all types the necessary edge needed to improve their bottom line. With Sports Options, you'll never lay a bad number again. We provide you with live odds from the leading sports books in the world, from Costa Rica to Curacao, London to Las Vegas, and everywhere in between. Sports Options also provides the fastest and most accurate injury information, lightning-quick score updates, and game analysis from 30-year handicapping veteran Mark Simons. We offer affordable services for players of all levels, starting at just $99 per month. To see which service best fits your needs, you can take advantage of our 7-day free trial. No credit card is needed. Just go to www.sportsoptions.com and click on the free trial link. I'm confident you'll be impressed with our product, and you'll find it the most complete and comprehensive on the market. In fact, if you don't like Sports Options after 30 days, we'll refund you 100% of your subscription costs, no questions asked. Go to sportsoptions.com for all the details, or call 702-835-1743, and one of our friendly customer service representatives will be happy to help you. Sports Options, information you can bet on.
And we are back. The EOG Sports Hour. John Kelly with you on a Monday night. Glad to be joined by Mike Corrigan tomorrow night. Alan Dinkinson pays a visit. He's coming off a subpar week in terms of his handicapping action. 1 win, 6 losses for Dink in that head-to-head showdown with Paulie Mack. Paulie Mack takes the money. Paulie Mack 3 and 4, I believe, from 7 selections. So he didn't have a winning week, but he wins the head-to-head showdown. In our Friday night showdown, similar results. Hustle Double 3 and 4. Railbird 1 and 6. He's having issues in his personal life, a lot of family issues he's battling, and so handicapping is not the front of his mind. And boy, the results have showed for Railbird the past month or so, very uncharacteristic what he's doing with the subpar results. So we'll try to get things straightened out this week. Dink's opponent tomorrow night will be Generous J, Las Vegas sports bettor. I like what Generous J does. He's not shy when he steps to the betting windows, that's for sure. And he also contributes to many worthy causes around the city. He told me, I'm not a professional gambler, but I'm a gambler who approaches it professionally. And he says his hobby is productive. He likes what he does, and he knows what he knows, and really focuses on his favorite sports to bet, ones where he's most successful. You will appreciate Generous Jay's contributions to tomorrow night's show. I guarantee it. He'll be in studio as well. So Dink against Generous Jay should be a fun showdown. And boy, we had a long run, Mike, where these handicappers were doing well in these spotlight affairs, but we don't hide from the results. So we had 28 plays on the program last week, 8 wins, 20 losses.
Well, there's what is the saying? The gambling money has no home. Okay, I think some bookmaker made that up, but whatever. And it doesn't. Everybody goes through a cycle, even the best, like the gentleman at Huntington Beach, that's Railbird, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, he's had health issues. I don't know about his family thing, but I know he had health issues. But he was barnstorming through week after week after week, win, and win kind of easily and handily and kind of cocky at the same time. But the worm does turn, and you show me a guy that wins every week, and it just doesn't happen. Even the best that there's ever been are going to have losing weeks, or it just happens. There's a cycle you go through, and you can get some horrible beats to go with it. The idea, of course, is to not chase the money. When I was doing, when I would be betting in my early years, I'd have a horrible, horrible habit of chasing. And I would take, if I'm stuck $1,000 or something, I could run it up to 20 times real easy, and just out of frustration and whatever. And I learned the hard way. Been broke a few times. In fact, another saying is, if you haven't been broke a few times in the gambling business, I don't know where you've been, because everybody's been broke. Even the most successful people have been upside down. It happens to everybody.
Words of wisdom from Mike Corrigan tonight. And shed no tears for Alan Dinkinson. I mentioned his 1-6 record. I did visit his home in Southwest Las Vegas. Beautiful spot he's got there in the gated community. And Dink is a long-term winner. He's doing something right, Mike. I like a lot of what Dink brings to the radio program, to the website, and to the gambling fraternity in general.
Well, yeah, he's a very well-versed gentleman, and his primary thing, I suppose, from his own natural talents is hockey, which the season's just underway with the hockey. I'm sure he's happy to see that. And he does have good sources for other sporting events, reliable sources and so forth. But it's a little bit troubling when you have to dependent on others. Although, I've done it. Matter of fact, you gave me the Philadelphia Eagles, pal. And, I went and bet the hell out of the Eagles to over 9. I bet like 15 dimes on it, but in 2 different spots, Crispy and 1. And I like the over 9. The area that I'm a little bit in trouble with is I also bet them to win their division, with the idea that the report on the Dallas Cowboys was, this is the worst team Jerry Jones has ever had, and they got no shot, and da-da-da-da-da. And I don't know what to say about the Cowboys after watching the Seattle game. What's your thoughts there, John?
Tremendous offensive line, young offensive line, one that'll get better as the season goes, and now they've got confidence. That's scary. Yeah, and Philly worries me because even though they're 5-1, the fact that they closed a 1-point favorite at home against the New York Giants, that's troubling moving forward.
But look what they win, 27-0. I mean,
they did win. They did win.
Yeah,
I'll give you
that.
And
they won handily the entire game. I mean, it was never in doubt. And you're right. The line dropped and went from as high as 3 down all the way down to 1. Actually, it was a good game for the houses for the most part.
Yeah. With the Cowboys, even though it got off to a sluggish start, they did well in righting the ship, and they'll be confident after that victory over the Seattle Seahawks. The 49ers won tonight, Mike, in St. Louis against division rival Rams. 31-17 was the final. St. Louis up early in this game, 14-0, but it did not faze the Niners. Colin Kaepernick, 343 yards, 3 touchdowns. The big touchdown came at the end of the first half, an 80-yard strike to Brandon Lloyd, and that got everything righted and headed in the right direction going to the break. And then San Francisco proved to be the better team in the second half. What happened late in this game was interesting, and it completes, I think, what is the story of Week 6 in the National Football League. How about this, Mike? 3 pick sixes in the final minutes of 3 games, one tonight, one in that Arizona-Washington game, the other in the Denver-New York Jets game, and all 3 pick sixes. Not only did they come in the game's final minute, but they also...
they were inside the last minute, each one.
Yes, 53 seconds tonight when San Francisco's cornerback Dante Johnson scored on a pick six. 18 seconds were left in the Arizona-Washington game when Arizona safety Rashad Johnson scored on a 28-yard interception return, and only 15 seconds left in the game when Aqib Talib, Denver's cornerback, scored from 22 yards out after picking off a pass, and Denver won and covered 31-17.
Those are terrible, terrible beats. I mean, when you have in each case, as we see, did you notice how it just seems like it happens to the underdogs? Oh, I mean, in this instance, all 3.
Undoubtedly.
It's like they just find ways to lose, and I don't know why. I mean,
well, there's a reason
how this happens.
Well, there's a reason. One, they figure to be down, and
right.
And they're the inferior team trying to do something desperately. And when that happens, bad things happen typically for the underdog. That's where the favorite...
Yeah, they desperately start throwing that ball around, and especially in the last minute or two time to drive. And the Oakland Raiders, I thought they were going to win their game yesterday against San Diego, and literally gave their game away, too.
Mm-hmm. And the Oakland is one of 2 teams still without a victory. Jacksonville, of course, 0-6. And the Raiders are 0-5. But one thing about the Raiders... They're
beating some numbers, aren't they?
They are 3-2 against the spread from their 5 contests. Meantime, Jacksonville's just 1-5 after scoring its first point spread victory yesterday. But at least the Raiders, in terms of the marketplace, they're trying to stay competitive, being 3-2 against.
The kid's Carr threw 4 touchdown passes yesterday?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and here was I'm not in love with I was never a Raider guy or anything like that when Al Davis was alive. But, they had some tremendous, their history is just tremendous. They coming to L.A. was probably a mistake, obviously, and then they had to go back to Oakland. But, their whole organization was so solid, just solid with the players, the coaches, the owner, whether you liked him or not. And a lot of people, of course, didn't like Al. And, but they were, it was a Raider Nation, is it, whatever they called it. And now it's just awful. And they still play in that awful, god-awful stadium. Oakland Alameda County Coliseum is still there, disintegrating away. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, the San Francisco's moved down the coast and sitting in a beautiful facility. And I feel bad because I thought the Raiders might win the game yesterday, and I wasn't rooting against San Diego, at least that I know of. but it's but as far as these bad beats go, it is rough when you have the Jets and the points, and Denver gets a late 7, and then the same thing be said with the Redskins. They're down by, I think they were down by 3?
Down 3. In fact, both those games, Mike, on Sunday, the pick 6 affected both side and total.
Sure. And then, of course, tonight it affected the total plus the teaser bets. I mean, there is teaser bets on St. Louis. They're now are losers.
And nowadays, with all the betting that's going on during games, you just don't know what's happening.
That's a good point, John, about the live wager. I'm not sure. I have to speak to my friend Chris, and he is raving about how much he likes it, likes booking it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm not even sure. I've never. When you were there, did you see how it even works?
I think it's new this year. I think when I was there 2 or 3 years ago, I just saw the Chris.
They didn't have it, did they?
Not in its current form. I think Jack Lysat, when I was there, he was on stage and he was kind of running the operation. But as I understand it now, it's a whole new department.
Right.
They've brought in some mathematicians to figure out the algorithms and really get the best number going.
Yeah, they got like 3-4 guys. Sitting there covering every event, putting out prices continually for this.
You got to love the churn too. I mean, the ability to force you get players to play nonstop. I mean,
Right.
You've got to be careful probably who you're dealing with, but they can profile the action too. They know who's winning and who's losing.
Sure, but you can really get yourself if you're on a credit line cap, you can go through a lot of money, buddy. I mean, and you could, of course, win too. But I mean, there's just that capability to bet so fast and furious that I'm not sure I could stand up to it, especially in my heart condition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, risk personality is important, and health issues. We talk about it a lot on the show. The ability to stay healthy and the ability to stay mentally sharp too, Mike. It's just not physical health. Your mental acuity. You can't be tired. You can't be. You can't have a lazy mind. You've got to be razor sharp when you're betting.
That's right.
And if you have trouble in those areas, you probably want to stick to the full game 11-10 action as opposed to hopping into the live wager.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier on you because I think it's almost. I can't see an older guy, no matter how qualified they would be, like Bobby the Owl, for example, and he's even older than me, and I just can't see us keeping up with the Joneses or the fast pace of the live gaming. And speaking to my friend, the proprietor at Chris, he really likes it, and he says it's a big winner for the house. But I said, well, do you ever know how you stand? He says, not really, until the night's over. And normally they, when after a game starts, they know what they have on each side. And, of course, that changes at halftime. And now with live wagering, it really changes. I'm not sure you can get a feel for it at all.
And probably better off in terms of the health issues and stress it all, just to hit the button at the end of the night, find out how you do. That's something Mike Corrigan told me he's done in the past. Why?
That's become ritual with me. It's Jimmy Vaccaro told me that. He said, stop sweating out every game. Just check the bottom line at the end of the day. In fact, wait till the next morning so you can at least sleep. Because if you have a bad night, you could have some insomnia issues. And thinking about, oh my God, I'm stuck 50, 60 times, whatever, or whatever. Just So what personally, what I've done is, I watch the games. I like watching sports. No matter what it is, and I watch the games, and I just check on things later. Now, some things I know. I made a couple of bets yesterday. I bet on the Eagles. I laid 2.5. Actually, very bad number. I'm making a confession here, right on the air. I laid 2.5 minus 105, and before it went down, and I thought I was doing okay with the number. And then when I see a 1, I said, "Oh my God!" So I went right to the injuries to see who was out, And lo and behold, it was him. He was just Giants money. Mm-hmm. And the other play I made was on over 6.5 in the Cardinal game, and I said, "Just let it be 3-2 Giants in the top of the 7th. I'll be very happy."
That game worked out well.
you just love having over 6.5 when it's 3-2 the visitor.
Sure. Get a late inning rally, a 1-run does it for you, and
one day, and the guy hit a pinch hit home run in the bottom of the 7th, tied the game, and so we started whistling Dixie from there.
Mike Corrigan, our featured guest. I mentioned Alan Dinkinson will be on the program tomorrow night. His opponent, Generous J, in a one-on-one handicapping contest. Wednesday night, Shawnee Mac and Paulie Mac, the Mac Attack. On Wednesdays, Thursday, Ed the Statman, and Friday we'll visit again with Railbird. Bobby the Owl was mentioned on tonight's program. It's funny you mentioned in-game wagering. I love Bobby the Owl. 79, he'll be 80 in December. How about this, Mike? You mentioned Bobby the Owl in live wagering. He's got a William Hill phone app, and today at lunch, he told me he had the Notre Dame, North Carolina game under 65.5 in live wagering. He said that was the worst bet he made at the weekend, but he's involved.
He's an amazing individual anyway. He is definitely a Hall of Fame material.
One of the ones, you're right. He has achieved legendary status here in town, and he's got a best bet for Saturday. Let me explain to our listeners why he likes Georgia Tech, minus the spot against North Carolina. I saw 1.5 at Westgate. It was 2 at Chris, 2.5 in a lot of spots. Bobby the Owl did lay 2. I don't know if he laid 2 or 2.5. He tends to get the best numbers around. He likes to bet early, and numbers disappear. Remember last week he told us on the phone his best bet was Florida International against Texas San Antonio. He took 13. The game closed 8. Texas San Antonio favored by 8. And UTSA life and death to win the game. FIU stays inside the number easily as the sharp side. The game on Saturday, Georgia Tech minus the small spot against North Carolina. He thinks North Carolina expended all its energy in that loss to Notre Dame. He thinks they'll have a tough time reacting off that loss. I like that angle, too. I always think it's good to find out how much energy your team expended the previous week, and maybe if they come up empty the following week, it's a good team to fade. I oftentimes like that letdown angle over any kind of look-ahead angles.
I like it too, and because they run out, it's tough to get, unless you're a really superior team, it's hard to get everybody back up again after some kind of treacherous win or loss.
And they can say all they want, but if you see it, and there's 2 ways to be let down. They're physically, you might have been in a physical war, or the emotional side of things, the mental side. You're just empty mentally, and you can't do it again the following week. So they could talk that they'll be ready, but oftentimes they're not. And I like that angle. The problem with the look ahead, Mike, is in this day and age of college football, where every week is important, you're assuming things that might not be there. You're making assumptions. Everyone likes the sandwich game, but they assume that teams aren't focused and aren't ready to play every single week. And a lot of these teams are well coached, they're focused, they're ready, and they'll be ready to attack the opponent. And there are better ways too. Instead of betting at 11-10 before the game starts, there are better ways to go at those look-ahead spots. Oftentimes, in a look-ahead game, I'll look to the second half. To fade a team in a look-ahead spot, thinking that they've already done their work. They might be up 28-0 or 35-7 at the half. And then in the second half, that might be when you get involved. Of course, the market knows it too, so it's hard to find edges in that respect. But I think there are better ways to play those look-ahead games.
Yeah, so do I. I think there is some good. When teams have big wins or losses, the team that fooled me here, the state of Mississippi, is just on fire. Both schools.
Yes.
And who beat? Was it Mississippi that won a gigantic game the week before?
Right.
Then they go to Texas A&M and beat the hell out of them.
Beat Bama and A&M on consecutive weeks.
Yeah, I mean, and beat them handily. This was no contest against Texas A&M. And this is in College Station with 106,000 people screaming Mimi's there. And that is fabulous. And Mississippi State from Starkville, this has never happened, right? that I know of.
I believe they've got one SEC conference title in more than 75 years. I think 1941 was when they won their last SEC title, Mississippi.
And now they
State.
got both Mississippi schools in there. They're headed into the top 4 zone. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Florida State is sitting there also. Mm-hmm. and they're the last of the more famous schools. Let's put it, and whatever, but.
And a much easier path than any of the SEC schools, too.
Yeah, they are. They're playing in a stiff league, and they give up a ton of points every week, so their defense must be... Yeah, they do what they got to do, and they got a fabulous offense and so forth with a goofy quarterback and everything else that goes with it. So,
About 5 minutes remaining in the program, Mike Corrigan is going to offer up his strongest opinion of the week. In fact, he told me before the show that he's got a big opinion on who's going to win the National League Championship Series. If you heard his earlier commentary, you might have surmised which side he likes. Mike, is it San Francisco or St. Louis?
100% it's the Giants.
Yep.
Because I'm going with the fact that Molina, I saw him interviewed today, that I think he may be unavailable at least, definitely not 100% at all. And that position of being the catcher, he can't. It's not like he can become a DH in the American League. That position is so demanding, and he is the heart and soul of the Cardinals. And I just see San Francisco winning this now. They have experience. They went on the road. They almost pulled off 2 wins in St. Louis. And I'm not in love with the Giants. For example, their outfield's a disaster. I mean, nobody's good out there, including the right fielder. And I just, yet the infield is very solid. The pitching, Bumgarner's going to come up big again in Game 5. The Cardinals got big-time trouble with left-handers. They hit 4 left-handed batters in that lineup, and this is right up Bumgarner's alley, and he's liable to throw another shutout in Game 5, and he'll be against Wainwright again probably. And
Wainwright's not right.
No, and he's got some issues physically too. And I just see the Giants winning this, so I laid $1.14 today. The series is 1-1. The Giants are now a small favorite. $1.14 is the cheapest I could find, and to win the series. And I'd like to win all 3 in San Francisco. That's probably not going to happen, but I think they'll at least have a 3-2 lead back to St. Louis with Bumgarner pitching Game 5. I kind of wish he'd be available for Game 7 if there has to be one. But I really like the Giants a lot, and the Cardinals just don't seem to me to have the kind of teams they've had in the past, and that bullpen is in a bit disarray. And Rosenthal, he is really shaky trying to get the ball over the plate. So, and they're not going to like AT&T Park either. It'll be a very noisy facility starting tomorrow.
I'll root you home, Mike. The Giants over the Cardinals in the National League Championship Series. Mike says he laid $1.14 on the adjusted series price. I like those kind of bets. Why go life and death with one game? Why not spread out the action over the course of a week or so? Then your strong opinion may come into play, more likely to come into play than just in a single game. Instead, in that best-of-7 series, Mike says the Giants will outdo the Cardinals. And boy, those two teams in the National League, a little bit like one another in terms of grinding. The Giants definitely have a grinding style. They won the 2010 World Series, the 2012 World Series, and this team might grind more than those two. In fact, if we get a Royals-Giants World Series, Mike, talk about 2 grinding teams. They doing a run at a time, trying to do the right things. On the bases, in the field. They're not spectacular, but both teams seem to be solid right now. The Royals with a 2-0 lead in the ALCS, and Mike Corrigan says San Francisco, in the end, will win that best-of-7 series against the St. Louis Cardinals. That series currently tied at 1. That'll wrap up our fast-moving program. From Mike Corrigan, I'm John Kelly. Thanks for listening to the EOG Sports Hour. Our conversation continues at EOG.com, where we have an NHL contest currently underway, and will debut an NBA contest later this week. Thanks for listening.